Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Monday, May the 31st. We just got a little two-game slate for Monday, but as always guys, we're going to go game by game. We're going to touch on each, of these two games, kind of, giving my early thoughts, what does stand out to me looking at the slate on Sunday night. But yeah, before we do get started with the video, as always, I would appreciate it if you would click that like button down below. If you are new to the channel here, be sure to click that subscribe button as well, and also hit the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You also do get notified every time I live stream. I will be back with a live stream this afternoon, probably around 5 o'clock Eastern time. I'll be live breaking down this two-gamer, answering all you guys' questions as always. It is Memorial Day, so I'm sure most of you might be off of work today, so you'll probably be free. If you are, definitely tune into the live stream Monday afternoon around 5 Eastern. I'll be live on my YouTube channel if you guys want to come and hang out. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at Monday's two-game slate. And we'll start off with the Sixers and Wizards game and start off on the Sixers side. So the Sixers, they do have a chance to close out this series. They're up 3-0. They got a chance to sweep the Wizards. Obviously, most people expect that to happen, but, for DFS purposes, we'll start off on the Philly side and talk about, what stands out to me. So Joel Embiid, you have at the top for 9,500. Definitely like Embiid here on a short two-game slate. It's really hard not to like Embiid, especially after he looked so good last game. He kind of struggled the first two games in the series. He was in foul trouble game one. He just didn't play that well game two, plus it was a blowout. Embiid just didn't play a ton of minutes. It was a blowout again last game, but Embiid still smashed in limited minutes. He only played 28 minutes, but he did have 57 DraftKings points. He's a very high upside player. We obviously know this. It's a great matchup against the Wizards. This is, out of all the postseason matchups, I would say the Sixers right now, they do have the best matchup. Facing this Wizards team that plays fast, that doesn't play much defense. It's not surprising to see Embiid, have success here. His prices come down to 9,500 on a short two-game slate. Embiid, I think, is clearly one of the top studs and is a guy that I'm definitely going to be trying to pay up for. I do like him a lot on both sides. On Yahoo, he's $47. I think if I can fit him in, he's definitely my favorite center on this slate. The center position overall, I mean, it's not great. You literally have like four playable options. You literally have Embiid, Gobert, J-Val, and Daniel Gafford. I don't know if you're going to be playing any other center. Maybe you could take a shot on like Alex Len or Robin Lopez, but in my opinion, there's really only four playable centers today, and obviously Embiid is clearly the top option at the position if you can fit him in. Definitely like Embiid here. I assume he'll be able to continue his good play into this game and have another really good game. Hopefully the Wizards can keep this game close and we finally see these guys get their full minutes. But then Ben Simmons you have next, 7,900. Do have some interest in Ben Simmons. I would say at his price tag, he's not as good of an option as Embiid is. I do prefer Embiid if I can get him in. You have Tobias Harris for $600 cheaper, who I do like as well. There are some other guards I like. You have Mike Conley, in a pretty good price rate, or at a pretty good price. You have Donovan Mitchell, who I think is a little bit too cheap now that his minutes are starting to trend up. John Morant's been playing really well. You have him in a similar price range. There's a lot of guards you can go to. Clearly Simmons is in play. I think I do have some other guys ahead of him today. Simmons is someone I've been on, pretty much every game so far in the series. He was really good games 1 and 2. He wasn't that great last game, but still he got limited due to the blowout. He probably could have had a better game had it been a close game. 7,900, definitely think Ben Simmons, is a very solid option today. But for the savings, I think I do prefer Tobias Harris. I do like Tobias Harris a lot today at 7,300. He's also been really, really good in this series, especially games 1 and last game in game 3. He played 37 minutes in game 1, which was a close game. He played 32 minutes in the blowout last game, but was very productive, had 45 DraftKings points. I mean, we're clearly just seeing, the usage on this team being dominated by these three guys. You're seeing big games from Harris, from Embiid, who had a really good game last game. Ben Simmons has been really good. Like, I don't know if I would play all three of those guys together. I think that might cap your upside a little bit, but I think playing two of the three, whether you want to go Embiid Harris or Embiid Simmons or Harrison Simmons, I'm totally fine with that. I do like Tobias Harris a lot today. I think he's clearly one of the better options at forward. If you look at the power forward position today, I mean, he's clearly the top play here. It's just a matter of if you can fit him in. I think 7,300 is probably too cheap for Tobias Harris, and especially when you look at the power forward position, there's just not a lot of guys you really feel good about at that position. So definitely like Tobias Harris at 7,300. I think I do prefer him over Ben Simmons today, given the position that Harris is at, and also given that Harris is cheaper. And kind of the same thing can be said on Yahoo. Tobias Harris, power forward, $32. I like him a lot over there as well. And then these value guys, I think we do need to take a shot on or have some interest in. You got Danny Green for 4,400. Obviously, nobody wants to play Danny Green. He's never a guy you feel good in rostering, but he's going to get the minutes. He's probably going to play like 30 to 32 minutes if it's a close game. In the blowout last game, he played 26 minutes. Game 1 was a close game. He played 31 minutes then. I'm expecting around 30 to 32 minutes from Danny Green today. Again, he's not a guy that you really ever want to roster. He just isn't a very high upside option, but he's going to get the minutes. It's a good matchup. He's cheap, 4,400. We don't really have any value. These playoff slates, it's always hard to find good value. So I like Danny Green as a value option. I think at 4,400, he is someone I'm for sure going to be looking to for cheap. And he's also pretty cheap on Yahoo at small forward, $15. I do like him a good amount over on Yahoo as well. And then Seth Curry, I think, is another pretty solid value. He's going to start, probably play around 30 to 32 minutes. 27 minutes for him last game in the blowout, 32 minutes in game 1, which was a close game. Again, Seth Curry is kind of another guy. You don't really know what you're going to get from him. He's pretty score independent. He's going to have to knock down some shots to really get there. But in a good matchup, in a fast-paced game, only 4,300. I think Seth Curry, Danny Green are very similar plays. I think both guys do look like solid values on a short 2-game slate. Like I said, we just don't have much value. These are the kind of guys I think you are going to be looking to for cheap today. And I'm fine playing, 3 or 4 of these Sixers. I think a lot of these Sixers are underpriced. I think Embiid's too cheap. I think Tobias Harris is definitely underpriced. Ben Simmons I like. I like Green and Curry for value. Would I play all 5 of those guys in one lineup? I don't think so. But I think, 3, 4 Sixers is totally fine. Because obviously this is, a great matchup against the Wizards. Only concern is that, if this game does blow out, you obviously will see limited minutes for a lot of these guys. But if the Wizards can keep this game close, it is very likely that, most of these Sixers pay off their price tag. So I'm fine playing 3 to 4 Sixers today. That's probably it for the rest of this team, though. I don't see too much else I like outside of the guys we mentioned. Basically, the starters are where I'm looking to from Philly. I don't think I have any interest in any of the bench guys. I think it's just going to be the starters for me. So on the Wizards side, talking about Washington here, been a tough team to really, get right at this point. I mean, we've seen so far Westbrook, games 1, game 2, wasn't great, but he did bounce back in a big way last game. Even in the blowout, he played 34 minutes, had 60 Draftkings points. He did have a triple-double. Westbrook was questionable that game, and he did wind up playing. He's once again questionable today. I'm just going to assume that Westbrook plays. He's always a guy that normally when he's injured, he's going to play through it, and especially in the playoffs, you're just going to see these guys, play through their injuries. So I'm expecting Westbrook to play at 11K. Obviously, Westbrook is viable, but we have Embiid for cheaper. We have other guys you could go to in the mid-range, like in the 7 to 8K range. You got Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, John Morant. You got Harrison Simmons. Especially with the lack of value, I think it is going to be pretty tough to pay up for Westbrook today, especially if I'm playing one lineup. I just don't think I'm going to get there. Would I be surprised if Westbrook goes out there and puts up a triple-double and has 70 DraftKings points? I wouldn't be surprised, but I still think you could get similar production from some of these cheaper guys that we mentioned. I don't think I'm going to jam in Westbrook on the slate. It's tough to fit him in with the lack of value that we do have. I'm more likely to play, these mid-range options that we talked about. Bradley Beal at 9,100, I don't mind either. Again, I think there are other guys I'd rather play. Like, I'd rather play Embiid at a similar price range. I think I'd rather save salary and play Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris. But at 9,100, Bradley Beal is definitely a good option here. We know he's going to just run the entire offense. Him and Westbrook are going to dominate the usage. Bradley Beal's going to go out there and take 25, 30 shots. He's a score-independent player, but we know he's going to go out there and just chuck, and literally, like I said, just the entire offense is going to run through Beal and Westbrook. So Beal at 9,100, definitely a solid option. I think I'd be willing to play Beal in a lineup where, if I was playing like 4 or 5 Sixers, like, right now, I think playing Beal or having some exposure to at least 1 or 2 Wizards makes a lot of sense. If you're playing 3 or 4 Sixers, you got to hope that the game stays close, and if it does stay close, that means we're getting 40-plus minutes from Westbrook, 40-plus minutes from Beal. I'd be a lot more likely to play one of those 2 guys in lineups that have, 3 or 4 Sixers in them. So if I had to pick one, I think I do prefer Beal just for the savings, just because I think it's going to be tough to get Westbrook in. But both guys are definitely playable. Like I said, I'd be a lot more likely to play them in, kind of like stacks where I have a lot of Philly guys. But then outside of the top 2, Westbrook and Beal, this Wizards team, man, they're just so tough to predict what you're going to get from some of these secondary pieces. Like Rui Hachimura, minutes-wise, he's probably going to get big minutes, but his production has just been so bad. 19, 20, 18 DraftKings points just has shown no upside. If the game stays close, you probably get like 34, 35 minutes from Rui, but he could still put up 20 DraftKings points in 35 minutes. He's just not a guy that I feel like I ever have to roster. I know the value is pretty bad today, so could you go to a guy like Rui that is going to get the minutes? I think you could. Me personally, though, I'd probably rather play Seth Curry and Danny Green for cheaper. But Rui is viable, for sure, just given the minutes he's going to play. Ish Smith is currently questionable. This will be something to keep an eye on. I assume he plays as well. He probably gets like 20 to 22 minutes off the bench. If you want to go to him for 4,500, it's okay, but I don't feel great about Ish Smith. I think he's definitely a little bit overpriced right now. And then like Daniel Gafford, probably my favorite of all the Wizards value. We've seen him so far in every game in the series. He's played at least 20 minutes. 20 minutes in Game 1 and Game 2, and then last game he played 22 minutes. He's been, a relatively productive player this year with the Wizards. He's averaged about a fantasy point per minute. If he's going to play like 20 to 22 minutes, he definitely can give us 25, 26 DraftKings points and be a good play at 4,300. Value, again, it's hard to come by. It's hard to find. 4,300 for Gafford. I think, he's a pretty solid value play here. The only worry I have is, foul trouble. That's definitely a concern. He's always a guy that seems to get in foul trouble, but the last 2 games he's been fairly good at staying out of foul trouble. Only 1 foul in Game 1, only 3 last game. If we get 20 to 22 minutes from Gafford, he has the upside to pay off 4,300, and it seems like they want to continue to give him these minutes. His minutes have been pretty consistent lately, so that's at least good to see. I do like Gafford as a value, and then Davis Bertans will be the last guy that we mentioned, 3,700. He did start last game, and he played 31 minutes in the blowout. I mean, he was terrible. He had 10 DraftKings points. He shot 1 for 5 from 3. Like, Davis Bertans has just been so bad in this series. He's a 3-point shooter. You're going to need him to knock down threes. He's very scoring dependent. He's not going to do much outside of score. But if he's going to start again and play upwards of 30 minutes or even more than that, I mean, for 3,700, again, like Bertans, I played him last slate and he burned me. I'm willing to go back to him, though, just given he's cheap. The minutes should be there. If he gets hot, I mean, he definitely has the potential to, pay off this price tag. You never know what you're going to get from Davis Bertans. He could literally put up 5 fantasy points a day, and I would not be surprised. He could put up 30 fantasy points a day, and I'd not be surprised. So there's a wide range of outcomes with Bertans. He's cheap enough, though, that I'm willing to take a shot on him on a short 2-game slate like this. So for me, I think my favorite Wizards, obviously Westbrook and Beal at the top are viable. The value guys, though, I think Gafford and Bertans are probably my 2 favorite values if you do want to go to them. And I think Rui is also viable just given the minutes he's going to play. I don't feel great about Rui. His production is never that good, but he's going to play a ton of minutes, which does make him an okay option. But yeah, I think that's probably it for this game. I don't think I'm really going to any other Wizards. Maybe if Ish Smith is out, you can maybe go to a guy like Raul Neto. He'd probably get a few more minutes. 3,400, he'd be okay option, but again, I wouldn't feel great about him. So yeah, we can go ahead and talk about the last game of the night, the next game, Utah and Memphis. Starting off on the Utah side, we got Donovan Mitchell at the top, 8K. I do really like Donovan Mitchell today. I haven't played him the last 2 slates that he's been since he's come back from his injury. He made his return in Game 2 of this series. He played 26 minutes, had 31 DK points. Last game, he saw his minutes trend up a little bit. He played 30 minutes, had 41 DraftKings points. I'm assuming that as Mitchell just continues to get more time on the floor and just continues to play, his minutes are just going to continue to ramp up until he basically gets back to playing his full minutes. So given that he played 4 extra minutes than he did the game before, I'm guessing we get like 3 or 4 more minutes from Mitchell today. So he probably plays like 33, 34 minutes if this is a close game. 8K is definitely too cheap for Donovan Mitchell if he's going to be playing over 30 minutes. Am I confident that happens? I would say, I'm not 100%, gun to my head. I don't really know if Mitchell plays 30 minutes or more, but I'd be willing to bet that his minutes increase, from what they did last game, especially given that they increased from Game 2. So I think we get like 33, 34 minutes from Mitchell. At 8K, I do like him a lot if he's going to play, around 34 minutes. He's probably my favorite play from this Utah team. I think he's definitely underpriced today. The price tag has come down on Mitchell just because of the kind of restriction he's been on. But if that restriction is just going to continue to get lifted, if he's going to continue to play more minutes, he's going to be a guy that we do want to roster, especially while he's 8K because, a week from now, if Utah is still in the playoffs, Mitchell's going to be like close to 9K a week from now. So definitely want to get on Mitchell now, and I do like him a lot on Yahoo. I don't think he's going to be very popular on Yahoo, but I do like him a lot there at $38. I forgot to mention, do like Seth Curry a lot on Yahoo as well. I forgot to plug him in. $13 for Seth Curry. We already talked about him, why I like him on DK. Same reason goes for Yahoo. He's super cheap there. And again, I'm fine playing 3 or 4 Sixers today, especially because they're, I think they're the team that stands out the most to me in terms of, plays that I like. You got the guys at the top I like. You got the value plays I like. I'm fine playing 3 or 4 Sixers. If you do that, though, maybe you run it back with a Wizard and just kind of, hope the game stays close. But, yeah, definitely like Mitchell on Yahoo as well at $38. Then you have Rudy Gobert, 7,800. Do have some interest in Rudy Gobert today. Now, at the center position, you have Embiid at the top. You have Rudy Gobert. You have J-Val, both priced very, similarly. I think right now I give the slight edge to J-Val just because I think J-Val is going to be lower owned, and I think Gobert and J-Val just project very similarly. So I'd probably just give the edge to the guy that's lower owned, but clearly Gobert is a good option here at 7,800. He's going to probably play around 35, 36 minutes if this game stays close. You know, he was in foul trouble in game 1. He fouled out in 25 minutes. But last 2 games, he's played 36 minutes, 50, 41 DK points. We know what Rudy Gobert is going to do. He's going to just, be around the rim the whole time. He's going to grab a ton of rebounds. He can, get you putbacks. He can score around the rim. He has, 15 potential with obviously, a ton of block shot upside. He can go out there and block 5, 6 shots. He's done it before. So for 7,800, I think Rudy Gobert is a very solid center option today. Again, if I can pay up for Embiid, I think Embiid's the guy that I do want to play at the center position. But obviously, you can't pay all these studs. If you do play Embiid, that's going to force you to play some value guys like Danny Green, like Seth Curry. But I think I'm willing to do that just because I like the upside that Embiid has in this matchup. Clearly though, Gobert is probably the second best center on the slate behind Embiid. Then you have Mike Conley at 7K. Mike Conley, the last 2 games, even with Mitchell back, been playing really, really well. 49 and 49 DraftKings points, 37, 36 minutes. He's been shooting pretty efficiently, which I think might regress a little bit. 50% from the field these last 2 games, 60% from 3, 70% from 3. He shot 7 for 10 from three-point range last game, which I think obviously is a little bit of an outlier. But he's been good with the peripherals too. I mean, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, 4 rebounds, 15 assists. If he's going to continue to put up, 5, 6 rebounds a game, get you close to double-digit assists, Mike Conley's definitely underpriced right now at 7K. If they're going to keep playing him 36, 37 minutes a night, I mean, he can easily go for 40-plus DraftKings points and be a good play at this price point. I think Conley will get a lot of ownership today because he's, you look at the game log and he's been so good lately. And obviously, I do like Mike Conley a lot. I don't know if people are going to go to Mitchell, though. I think people might be a little bit hesitant to play Mitchell. I'd be willing to take the ownership discount and just play Mitchell over Conley. But you could definitely play both guys together if you wanted to do that. I think Conley at 7K is a really good play. I think him and Mitchell are my 2 favorite plays from Utah. I think Rudy Gobert is a good option too. Outside of that, though, I don't think I'm going to Bogdanovic or Clarkson or Ingles. I don't really have much interest in these guys, especially now that Mitchell's back. The upside on Bogdanovic, he takes a big hit with Mitchell back. So does Joe Ingles. So does Jordan Clarkson. Joe Ingles only put up 4 fantasy points in 23 minutes last game. We just don't know how many minutes he's going to play off the bench. Clarkson, again, just not a guy that I really want to play at 6K. Could he come off the bench and just get really hot and, have a big game? He could, but I'm willing to bet that he doesn't. So the last guy I do want to mention from Utah is Royce O'Neal, just because he's another one of these guys that falls into the Danny Green, Seth Curry category, whereas he's cheap. He's going to play minutes. He's not a great fantasy player. He's not a good point-per-minute player, but the minutes are going to be there, and he's cheap. So I think Royce O'Neal is an okay value on a short slate like this. Right now, I do prefer Green and Curry, but I think Royce is fine. But clearly, though, my 3 favorite players from Utah are definitely the guards, Mitchell and Conley, and I think Rudy Gobert is a good option too. But now we'll talk about Memphis real quick before we end the video. So on Memphis today, you got Ja Morant at the top, 8,400. Ja Morant, not really been a guy that I've played so far in the postseason. I haven't played him at all so far in the series, but he has been really good, especially the last 2 games. Had that massive game in Game 2, played 43 minutes, had 61 DraftKings points. Had a decent game last game, 41 DK points in 40 minutes. He's been getting massive minutes. He's going to play probably 40 to 42 minutes here. I do expect Ja Morant to be, pretty low owned on a 2-game slate. Obviously, he's going to get some ownership, but I think you'll probably see Conley be more popular for cheaper. You'll probably see Ben Simmons be more popular. Maybe Mitchell gets more ownership. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, Ja Morant is a lower owned option. I think is fine. I do prefer some of those other guys that we've mentioned, but I think Morant is definitely in play. If you do want to go there, at that mid range at guard. J-Val is 7,700. Again, I think him and Rudy Gobert project very similarly. I think if you're not playing Embiid, then at center, then I'd probably want to play either one of J-Val or Gobert. J-Val, I think, is going to be lower owned than Gobert, which makes me prefer him just given that I think both guys just are very likely to put up similar games. I'm willing to bet that J-Val just has a better game than Gobert, and he's going to be probably a fraction of the ownership. So if we're going to get 35, 36 minutes from J-Val, which is what he played or what he's played in the competitive games so far and games where he's not been in foul trouble, I think the Game 2 of this series he was in foul trouble. That's one of the reasons he only played 30 minutes. But we got 39 minutes from J-Val in Game 1, 35 in Game 3. He probably plays 35, 36 minutes today. We know J-Val is a super reductive player when he's on the floor. He hasn't been that great in this series on a production level. Only 37, 31, 35 DK points. But we know J-Val can go out there and put up, a 50 burger or a 60 burger any night. And I think he's going to be pretty low owned on this slate. I think him and Morant are both going to be fairly low owned for a 2-game slate. So those are guys I would definitely be looking to go to, as like a last piece in, or if I have like a really chalky lineup and I need someone that's low owned, I'd definitely be willing to go to Morant or go to JVal. I do have some interest in them for sure. Dylan Brooks at 6,400 feels priced appropriately. I don't think this is going to be someone I get to on this slate at 6,400. I'm just willing to bet that he doesn't, kill me at I'm willing to bet that he doesn't like break the slate at this price tag. I know he had a massive game 1, but this is normally not a guy that we really have to worry about going out there and putting up 45, 50 DK points. Most nights you're going to be getting anywhere from 35 to 40 from Dylan Brooks. And, sure, if Dylan Brooks goes out there and puts up 40 DK points, he'll be a very good play, but I still don't think he's going to be someone that you really have to roster. Again, I think he's fine as a last piece in. Kyle Anderson, I do have some interest in, especially just because he's, small forward, power forward, which is a lot weaker position than guard is. Guard's always pretty deep. There's always a ton of guards you can play. Whereas forward, it's a lot tougher to find plays that you like at forward. So, a guy like Kyle Anderson for 6,200, I'm definitely interested in today. If you can't go to Tobias Harris at power forward, I think, probably Kyle Anderson's the next best option in the position. He's going to probably play around 32 to 35 minutes, somewhere in that range. He's been a fantasy point per minute player this year. He did have a really big game last game. For 6,200, if you had to make me choose between Dylan Brooks or Kyle Anderson, I think I'd actually prefer Kyle Anderson between the two. I do have some interest in him. And then Jaren Jackson Jr. will be the last guy I mentioned from Memphis. 5,400, his price has come down a good amount. He's fairly affordable today. Last 2 games, he's played 31 and 27 minutes. The production hasn't been great for Jaren Jackson Jr. He did have 28 DK points last game in 27 minutes. My best guess is as long as he's not in foul trouble, which is always a concern with Triple J. He seems to be always in foul trouble. Did have 5 fouls in 27 minutes last game. But if he's not in foul trouble, I think we do get around 30 minutes from Triple J. He's around a fantasy point per minute player. If he's going to play 30 minutes, he probably gives you like 28 to 30 DraftKings points, if not, a better game than that. For 5,400 as a, cheaper power forward option, I think, Triple J looks like a pretty solid value play. I would say he's up there with John Morant and JVal as my favorite plays from Memphis. And then I think Anderson and Brooks are solid mid-range options. I'd give the edge to Anderson. Value-wise, though, I really don't like any value from Memphis. Grayson Allen came off the bench last game and played 30 minutes. I have no idea if he plays 30 minutes again or anywhere close to that. In Game 1, he only played 23 minutes. In Game 2, he only played 19. He's also not been very productive this year on a point per minute basis. He did have a good game last game, but again, I'm just willing to bet that Grayson Allen doesn't go out there and shoot 5 for 8 from 3. So for 3,600, I guess you could go to him as a value. He probably plays like low 20s minutes, but I'd rather get up to guys like Seth Curry, Danny Green, who I know are going to play 30-plus minutes if the game's close. So yeah, that does it for Memphis. I think we covered basically everything I like here. So that covers everything for today's little short 2-game slate. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. I do appreciate you watching, and I hope you did enjoy. Be sure to click that like button down below. Click that subscribe button as well, and also hit the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You also do get notified every time I live stream. Like I said at the beginning of the video, guys, I will be live for tonight's slate, probably around 5 o'clock Eastern time, when I normally go live. So if you do want to tune into my YouTube channel then, I'll be live breaking down the slate, answering all your questions as always. But yeah, best of luck tonight, guys. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you did enjoy. We'll see you in the next one. Good luck tonight. Peace.